G'day Trailblazers, my name is Cam, and for today's video, I'm going to show you how to import a file of subscribers into your All Subscribers list in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So the use case for this is you may be moving from a different email platform into Salesforce Marketing Cloud, where you may have received some data from perhaps an event or a registration page that you now have to upload to your All Subscribers to make sure you have them matched against your existing list, choosing to add or update those records to keep your subscriber list up to date. So let's go through how that works. In a previous video, we uploaded the sample rows data into our sample rows data extension, so we can reuse that data to try and upload into our All Subscribers list. Now we could quite simply navigate to our subscribers here into All Subscribers and choose our import option to import that CSV of data into our All Subscribers. I'll show you how that would work. We can choose the import option and choose to import into our list of All Subscribers by choosing Next. Now here, of course, we are saying that we are choosing to opt in or out these subscribers based on the data that we uploaded to Marketing Cloud. So very important, we make sure we have consent, or we have flagged that we do not have consent against those subscribers we are trying to import. I'm going to agree to these terms and move to the next screen. Now here, I'm going to choose to upload from my desktop that sample rows data, those 13 records that we tried in that previous video. So I'll choose sample records and go open. Now, of course, we use a CSV file. We are going to add new subscribers, and we are going to make sure it's in the Australian date format, of course, and go next. Now on this screen, we can then map up those fields. We can choose the ID field, which we knew is our subscriber key field, that key subscriber value, and map those two values together. We then choose our email address, mapped email address, and map, and of course the email opt-in flag to our status flag and go map. With just those three fields mapped, we'll then try and upload this file by choosing Next. We'll say yes to upload those three, and then we'll go Begin. But there's one small problem. Our sample rows file had a Boolean flag for the opt-in, opt-out field, which means we are not going to be able to import those 13 subscribers because it's not the correct data format for that field. If we jump into our documentation for the All Subscribers status here, we can see that the field is actually a text field and must use the following status codes, either active, bounced, held, or unsubscribed. We have to make one small change before we can upload this file into our All Subscribers list. Now we could, of course, go to the file on our desktop and change the true and false flags to be active and unsubscribed values, but that's not very cool and you're not going to learn much doing that either. So instead, let me show you how you can solve this inside Marketing Cloud using some SQL. So jumping back into Marketing Cloud, let's now go into our folder with our sample rows data extension that we uploaded last time. Now I'm going to choose to create a new data extension to put our new values into. So we'll go create, make ourselves a brand new data extension. And this time we're not going to create from new, we're instead going to create from an existing data extension. We can then navigate through to our folder with our data extension inside of it by clicking on the folder name and choosing the sample rows data extension with a tick there, and then we'll go OK. We now call this one sample rows all subscribers import. We're of course going to leave this one with all the other sample tick boxes there, and we can choose next. We'll leave our data retention policy as off, choose next, and here are all of our fields directly copied across from that previous data extension. And the one thing we have to change, of course, is the email opt-in. We don't want it to be a Boolean, we want it to be a text value. So rather than calling it email opt-in, let's call it status. And we'll make it a text field with a maximum or max length of 50, and we'll make it a nullable field for now. Let's also change the ID field to read as subscriber key, so it's easy to import later on as well. So we'll go subscriber key as one word. With that done, we can then make sure our subscriber key is matched to subscriber key. It is. Status is text. It is. We are good to go, so we'll go create. With our data extension created, we can now jump into Automation Studio and create the SQL that we need to move our data from the original data extension into this new data extension. So over in Automation Studio, of course, we've got here by going to our navigation here, going all the way across to Journey Builder and Automation Studio. We're going to create ourselves a brand new automation to move that data from the original data extension into our new All Subscribers import. So we're going to create new automation. We'll call this one our All Subscribers SQL import, and we'll go done. We use a schedule again as a placeholder. We can then move on to our activities. And we're going to use some SQL today. So I'll go down here to my SQL activity. There it is there. I'm going to drag and drop that one into our canvas and go choose activity. And since we don't have a current activity designed for this, we're going to create a brand new activity by choosing the create new query activity. On this screen, we'll call this one the sample rows into all subscribers. And we'll go next. And now we can write the SQL for this function. Now, I've shown this cheat before, but what you can do is you can jump into your folder with your data extension, find the data extension you're going to import the file into. You can drag and drop the name into the canvas here, and it puts all the fields that you are going to be using in that new data extension. So it's an easy way to make sure you are catering to all the fields you need in that new data extension. I'm now just going to format my SQL so it's a bit easier to read. Just like this, of course, with a comma separating each field. Now for our SQL query, we're going to be selecting some information into these fields from what data extension? Well, it's from our sample rows data extension. So if we find the site here, we can actually use our cursor to select the name of sample rows. A little spot on the side here that has no pointer, you can choose that spot and then copy the name just like that. So we get it all right. Sample rows, just like that. So from sample rows, now there's one thing though. In sample rows, these fields were different. There was no subscriber key field, there was no status field. If I go validate syntax, it's going to say, I couldn't find this the subscriber key field in sample rows. In the sample rows data extension here, it was actually called ID. So we're going to be picking up the ID field. We're going to be calling it subscriber key. So it's going to be the ID field as subscriber key. We'll check our syntax. That's worked. Now it says it can't find status. Well, that's also correct because it's actually called email opt-in. So we can drag and drop email opt-in. Here it is here. So we can copy the email opt-in, cut it from there, and we'll put it at the front here. It'll be email opt-in as status. Check the syntax. Okay, we're looking good. The fields now all match. There's one more thing though, and the email opt-in values were the words true and false. They need to be the words active and unsubscribe. We have to change how our function here works. So what we'll do instead is we're going to write an SQL function to write out how we're going to transform the words of the email opt-in true and false into the correct values of status, active or unsubscribed. So what we'll be using today to do this is an SQL case expression. And I'll put the link to the W3 Schools page here in the video description below, and you can check it out for yourself and copy our code syntax. The way it reads, it is saying if a value is something, then would show something else. The value is something else, then we'll show a different result. A third will show a third, and otherwise, if all other things have failed, we'll show a different result. This is very similar to an if statement you may have seen in AMP or server-side JavaScript. So what we'll do today, we're going to copy this information and we're going to put it into our SQL. So we'll say copy that, go into Automation Studio, and we're just going to paste it down the bottom here so we can do it for ourselves. Now what our condition is going to be, is going to say that when the email opt-in is equal to true, and the true value of course is a textual true value, then we want to show instead the textual value of active, just like that. Now when the email opt-in value instead is equal to false, we're instead going to show unsubscribed, just like that. Now if those two things have failed, the remaining option will be what? What is the possible other outcome? If it's not true and not false, let's leave it as blank, as null. And that's done, the case statement will be over. So what we can do is we can actually replace our email opt-in direct copy value with our case statement here and saving it as status. So I can put as status at the end, and then our case here, cut that and paste it just there. So now this case statement saving as status becomes the final field in our lookup here, our SQL, to post into our data extension. And we can check it out by going validate and make sure it's all looking okay. And it's not 2 equals, it's just the 1 equals. I'll try it out and there it is. So when email opt-in is true, then it's active. When it's not true or it's false, it's going to be unsubscribed, otherwise it'll be blank. So with that done, we've validated the syntax, it's looking good. We'll go next on our SQL. We then choose to put it into our data extension, into our sample rows to import. There it is there. From 13 rows, we're going to import into our 0 rows. We'll overwrite that data and go next. finally, check our script. It's all looking pretty good, so we'll go finish. When that's saved, we can then save our automation and then choose to run our automation once by clicking our Run Once button up the top and choosing the activity to run and run. And straight away we can see the activity is kicked off and hopefully it's completed already. There we go, the SQL took 4 seconds to run. Love it. So we can jump back into our data extensions and let's have a look for ourselves. We did have 0 records. We now refresh that folder. Hopefully we find all 13 records are there. Great. Let's open up the data extension to make sure that our new values of subscriber key and status are also coming through correctly. In our records tab, hopefully we see subscriber key, perfect, with the values have come through, and status of active and unsubscribed. Perfect. Now let's double check this though. We did have Cloudy, Ernie, Max, and Meta. Cloudy, Ernie, Max, and Meta were all unsubscribed. Let's check that out for ourselves by going into our public as a quick spot test. Cloudy, Max, Ernie, and Meta. Cloudy was false, Ernie was false, Max was false, and Meta was false. Perfect. So all 4 unsubscribed records in our sample rows have come through with the correct unsubscribe field. So you're now ready to import this data into our all subscribers. So now we're back over in all subscribers, and let's now choose to import our newly created data into our all subscribers list. Now there's one thing though, which is our import methods only allow for the 2 options of desktop or FTP, your computer or FTP, and unfortunately our brand new data in our data extension is neither of those 2 things. Jump back into my data extension here, I will have to extract this data so I can move it across for myself. Now I can do this easily by going to my all subscribers data import here. I can use my navigation on the side here to export that data. And of course I can choose to export it to my desktop or to the FTP. Now, as we know, the desktop option is quite easy and it's a good one to use if you don't have much data to play with. But for today, let me show you how to do the FTP method. We'll make sure, of course, that our extract is a good naming convention. So call this one like it is there, sample rows all subscribers import.csv. It's going to be a CSV import or export type. We're going to include the headers and make sure that there's no formulas to worry about for Excel. We're then going to choose to export to the FTP export directory. Now we could choose other file locations if we had them, but I'll leave it as the export one for now, and we'll choose export. With that done, we can now jump into the FTP and see if the file has come through. Over in the Marketing Cloud FTP, and I've got my main folders here. If I navigate to my export folder, perfect, there is our sample rows, all subscribers import, ready to go. Now you may recall we talked about our importing in our previous video. The import option from FTP always looks at the import folder. So we will have to move this file from the export folder into the import folder so it can be read for the import process. Now, lucky for us, we are using an FTP client and I'm using FileZilla today, but most clients allow you to drag and drop files into different folders. So I can quite simply drag and drop my file straight over into the import folder, just like that. It's gone from exports, go to my imports folder, and hopefully we see, there it is there, ready to go. Now, of course, if you don't have direct access to your FTP, you may have to create a file transfer process in Automation Studio. I do have a video on that, which I'll link in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. But for now, we do have our file ready to go to import into all subscribers. So first thing I'll do is I'm going to copy the name by clicking on it slowly twice. There's my name. I'll copy on it. Let's now go back into all subscribers and import this file. So back in all subscribers, and we'll keep going where we left off. We're on the screen ready to go, importing not from your computer, but from the FTP. Now, as before, if I do type the name in wrong here, I do have the wrong file format, the wrong character at the end there, and I try to go next, it's going to say, nope, sorry, I could not find that file, and give you a little warning just like that. So since we do know the file name, I'll paste it in correctly. There it is there. We're of course using a .csv file, so we'll use the CSV data format. We will add and update subscribers if there's a duplicate. And for our date format, of course, we are still using the Australian sample data, so we use the English Australia date format. With that done, we'll go next, and hopefully it finds our file just fine, and it has, perfect. We can now map up our file. I can go subscriber key, maps to subscriber key, and map. I can do my email address to email address and map. And of course, I can do my status to status and map. Now, hopefully that's already mapped status. Perfect. With that done, I can then go next. Go to our final page. It says, yes, here's all my things to check on. I will then go begin to begin the import of that file. Now hopefully we do see that the processing will be completed. We'll get an email when it's all done, so we'll go finish. And hopefully when we refresh our page, we'll see more than the 15 subscribers. You can see here it's currently processing. We have 15 originally. Let's see what it comes back with once it's finished that file import. The Your Subscribers upload has just finished. I can see from our original 15, we now have 28 subscribers, which means those 13 records have all been imported successfully. I can see the add method here shows import. We also see that Ernie, one of our 4 unsubscribers, is showing as unsubscribed. The remaining 3, of course, are shown on the second page. So that looks good. We now have all of our records imported successfully into our All Subscribers list. Now I'd like to show you one more way that you can automate the importing of your Salesforce Marketing Cloud subscribers into your All Subscribers list. That's using the import file process in Automation Studio. So back in our All Subscribers SQL automation, we're going to use the import file activity and drag and drop it into our canvas. We can set up an automated file import. And of course, we are going to assume that we did use the file transfer activity between these 2 steps to move the file from the extract into the import directory. I can then choose that file. Now, of course, since we don't have an existing file import, we have to create a new definition. Now, bear in mind that during this process, when we use the import into All Subscribers manual method, it actually removes that previous CSV file from the FTP. So I do have to go back in and create a new extract and move it manually from the extracts into the imports folder. With that done, we can jump back into our import definition and call this one import into All Subscribers. I'll call this one the sample rows import. Perfect, sample rows import into All Subscribers, and we'll choose next. And now we should still find, perfect, there is our file that we moved manually just then. Copy it and paste it and say, yes, that's the right one. Yes, it is. Now, of course, if you've made the automated process, you probably wouldn't have the date stamp at the end. You probably have that removed in your extract process. But since we do this one manually, I'm going to leave the date stamp in, so that what the file naming convention says it is right now. Change our date format, of course, to be the Australian English. Just like that, comma separated and no quotes to worry about. So we'll go next, and it should hopefully find that file. Now, normally at this process, we will be importing into a data extension, but I can choose a subscriber list instead. Now, the subscriber list import type will not be the SMS type, we'll choose the email type just like that. And of course, you have to choose the right list. Now, you could import into your publication lists or suppression lists, but for today, I'm going to import to my subscribers into my subscriber list. That I'll choose next. And here we are. We do have our 3 options, same as our import, to add only, update only, or add and update. With that done, we can then choose to map either manually, by ordinal, or by header row. Now we do know that we had most of our header naming conventions correct, except for the All Subscribers list has a space between subscriber and key, and a space between email and address. So we cannot use the map by header row because those names do not match. We will have to use the map manually or map by ordinal. Now for today, I'll choose the map by ordinal to show you how it works. When I choose map by ordinal, I have to make sure I match up the ordinals correctly. Now we do know, back in our data extension, back at the start here, if I go back into my extract here, we can make sure we get our numbers correct. Now subscriber key is the first one, so that one's easy. Go back here, subscriber key was ordinal number 1. Great, column 1. What about email address? Well, it's number 1, 2, 3, 4. It's our 4th ordinal, so I'll choose column number 4. Now status is what ordinal? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's for status. So status becomes number 6. Now, are we going to map in the email one at the end? No, we're going to drop out the column and not put a value there for HTML email because there is no value for that in the import. So it's 1, 4, and 6 for key, email, and status. Key, 2, 3, email, and status. Perfect. With that done, we'll then choose next. I'm going to choose to import. It's going to say yes, unmapped for the HTML email. Great. All looking good, and we'll go finish. Now to make sure this works, what we're going to do is we're going to go back in and change one of our subscribers. So I'll jump back into my All Subscribers. I'm going to jump back down to Ernie here. And for Ernie's record, we're going to open up Ernie. We're going to change Ernie from unsubscribed to subscribed. Now this way we'll know if the file import works because Ernie should not be subscribed. Ernie should be unsubscribed. So I'll go done, go OK. We can now see that Ernie at Salesforce should go from unsubscribed to subscribed. I'm going to have to just refresh that list. If you look for ourselves, there we go, Ernie is now active. So we're now ready to try and import using Automation Studio. And if Ernie goes back to unsubscribed, then we know it's worked. So I'll go save. We're going to run once our automation, but we're not going to run once the SQL, we're just going to run once the sample rows import. So that will go here to our import, go tick and go run, and choose to just run the import and run now. And hopefully in a few seconds we'll see it kick off in the activity tab and we can see how the progress goes. And just a second later, we already have a started process and the import's begun, and it's running right now. And hopefully it'll be, here you go, complete yet again in just a few seconds. So if I jump back into my All Subscribers window, of course it won't refresh until I choose to refresh this screen, or I can click on Ernie's record here to load Ernie's fresh data. Now we had him as active, perfect, is now showing as inactive. I can check that by going cancel, refreshing our subscribers screen here, and hopefully we'll see that Ernie unsubscribes. The import has worked, perfect, and there is still 28 records, so nothing new got imported. It just refreshed his record, updating it from active to unsubscribed. So there you have it. That is how you can move a list of customer data or subscriber information from a previous email platform into Salesforce Marketing Cloud from your desktop or from the FTP. An additional process that allows you to transform that data inside of Marketing Cloud using a data extension and some SQL. I hope you've enjoyed this learning today, and if you have, please give us a big thumbs up and let us know in the comments below. And don't forget that you can subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when I release more Salesforce Marketing Cloud videos.